couple days ago, I had a crazy experience with the TSA, put something on my Facebook page about it, and I've just been thinking about it for the last 24 hours. How is the police state, and why is the police state expanding so quickly? So I came up with 4 top reasons. Let me know if I missed anything, and what you think about why the police state, the surveillance state, is just growing so extraordinarily, just rapidly. There was a bill before the House about the NSA being defunded. A lot of so-called conservatives ended up voting for it, and a lot of so-called liberals that stand for civil rights, or should I say, our Fourth Amendment rights, they ended up supporting it as well. So it's absolutely out of control. The TSA is out of control. I heard it best today. It said that if they weren't working at TSA, they'd likely be working at Taco Bell or McDonald's, because literally that's the caliber of individual working at and for the TSA. So, number one reason the police state is expanding so quickly is the growing public dissent. Or, at least, this is the scapegoat reason that they also use as well. We know that roughly, if you were to include libertarians, Tea Party members, people in the truth movement, then the people on Occupy Wall Street, radical, revolutionary left-wing activists, I don't know, probably 10% or less that are actually awake, spreading the message that on some levels, many of us would agree with different points of each group, right? Some more than others, but a lot of us have, I'd say, the same grievances with a completely criminal government that's out of control. So they're expanding the police state because they know returning veterans, they know people that are gun owners, they know people that are Ron Paul supporters. We know their government, we know this government is criminal, and quite frankly, we're telling everybody we know about it, we're exposing the lies. That's the new front. That's the new way we fight. It's not with, bullets and guns, it's just with truth. More people that realize how criminal the Federal Reserve is, how criminal Bush and Obama are, all the war crimes they've committed, the more people that actually see the evidence and the facts before them, I think the more people that wake up and say, hey, we need to do something to stop this cabal that's literally hijacked the Republic. Number 2, this is one I've talked about forever. We all know about it. It's the economy. I added inflation as well, but the economy. I cannot think for 1 minute that the people at the Fed, in fact, today at the Wall Street Journal, I was reading about how the Fed is working on a new way to basically message, or a new way of basically promoting quantitative easing. Like, the old storyboard of, hey, we're just going to keep doing this until the economy recovers and we're going to taper. It's no longer working because it's going on now for almost 4 years. So they have to come up with new propaganda using their state-sponsored media outlets to basically sell the American people on, hey, your gas prices might go up another couple dollars, but promise it's good for the economy. We know what we're doing. So the economy, they know this is all eventually going to collapse. Again, into some kind of Great Depression collapse. I think just the math plays it out, whether it happens next week, a year from now, 5 years from now, they're getting ready for it. And that's why they're buying the tanks, that's why they're buying the 1 billion rounds of ammunition, that's why they're doing all the steps with respect to the surveillance state, is that they know both of these things are taking place. Reason number 3 is the corruption and the scandals. If you, don't take my word for, by the way, don't take my word if you're a new subscriber on any of this. My experience with the TSA a couple days ago was I had a stroller for my kids, and basically the stroller, for whatever reason, didn't pass this little swab test, and so they had to pat me down. Well, I, gave them, I pushed back on the pat down. I'm like, why do I gotta get pat down? I mean, I didn't, I passed the metal detector, there was no problem. Anyways, whatever. I begin to take out my wallet and all the stuff in my pockets before they can do the pat down. They told me to basically empty my pockets. Well, one of the TSA agents, because by this time there was 2 of them over there, because I was loudly and vocally talking about how America's turning into Nazi Germany and you guys are basically like the Gestapo. Well, one of the guys, without even asking me, picks up my wallet and starts looking through my wallet. And I proceed to basically just tell him, what you're doing is illegal. I've read your employee handbook. You have to ask me before you do that. I know my rights. And whatever, that guy leaves, another guy comes back. But anyways, he proceeds to pat me down. While the guy's patting me down, I go on to tell him how the real terrorist is the U.S. government and how they're actually funding and financing Al-Qaeda, who's supposed to be why we give up our rights here at home and have our wives and children patted down. But I was thinking that any government, any civilization, but mostly like government or civilization for that matter, that ends up collapsing towards the very end, or there's some huge reset towards the very end, the corruption and the moral decay are at epic levels. Look at the scandals and the corruption in just the last year. And not just from Washington, but look at people like Anthony Weiner, who might be the next mayor of New York City. But look at the IRS, Benghazi, or what Obama calls made-up scandals, which are legitimate scandals where a large portion of the American people, tens of millions of them, are being targeted by the IRS. That is straight out of Bolshevik Soviet Union or, whatever, Mao, you name it. It's always how it starts. Not to mention the push, which I could add here as well, the push on taking away people's guns and trying to curb our gun rights. That would actually be number 5 that I had here. But number 4, top 4 reasons the police state is expanding. Number 4 is because they can. They can get away with it. There's not enough people standing up to this. I was talking to some of my friends a little bit earlier saying, if there was people going through the TSA checkpoints at the airport, and let's just say half of them, or 35% of them, went on to vocally, just lay into these TSA workers, hit them with a 1-2 combination of some serious truth about who they're actually working for and how criminal the U.S. government really is, that might start waking people up. They might be ashamed of actually working at the TSA. Before the Revolutionary War, before our founding fathers took on the greatest empire at the time, British soldiers in the colonies were always, heckled. They were treated really, really badly. A lot of the restaurants in some of the colonies wouldn't serve British soldiers. I mean, they openly would just, make fun of them, call them names, talk about how they were working for a tyrannical empire, you name it. Today, people just don't care, or they support it. Half of them go through the TSA checkpoints, they're like, yeah, they're keeping us safe. And then you're like, well, what about Obama and Bush supporting Al-Qaeda and financing them? They look at you like you're crazy, even though this is mainstream news. Talking about how Council on Foreign Relations, a ton of mainstream news publications talking about how the West needs Al-Qaeda in this whole destabilization campaign that is sweeping North Africa and the Middle East. It's insanity, ladies and gentlemen. But they get away with it because they can. And like I said, a great example that was just brought up is like, the guy sitting at home that's saying, hey, I think it's freaking awesome that my police station now has, 5 armored tanks and like 30 SWAT team guys that are straight out of like Baghdad or, Afghanistan, paramilitary troopers that are now part of the police state. These are the reasons the police state is expanding and rapidly growing. And again, I would add number 5, which is they're taking away our guns. It's another reason why I think this is taking place. But what do you think? Post your comments. Also, check us out on Facebook under Fabian for Liberty. FabianForLiberty.com has a little icon. You can just go there. Post a lot of commentary there every single day for everybody to talk about and give feedback on. Thanks for watching. I'm out.